Hello everyone, welcome back to another painting tutorial video. In this video I will be focusing on some Necropolis Stalkers. Here is the list of colors that I am using on the Stalkers. Bear in mind they are not in order I use them. However, I will go through one by one in the video. You can find the same list in the description as well. The miniatures are assembled except for the shoulder pads. I primed the Stalkers with Zandri dust and the shoulder pads with Mechanicus standard grey. The first thing I'm going to do is wash the Stalkers with Agrax Earthshade, making sure that the whole bone area is covered. And if there are spots where the paint starts to gather, I use my shade brush and start moving them so that the whole surface is covered and dries equally. Once the first layer is dry, I'm giving a second wash on the upper ribs, the spine and the pelvic bone. Repeating this method 2 more times after the second wash is dry. Now that I'm happy with the shade of the bones, I'm using Morghast bone and start dry brushing first the whole bone area, except where I have washed multiple times. Those areas are going to be highlighted with Zandri dust, so that to get a bit more definition on the bones. After the dry brushing is done, I start layering it with the same color and focusing only on the sharpest features of the bones, so that it gets a nice highlight and will be much easier to spot where to highlight afterwards. I am also trying to focus on the heads to get the main attention. With Screaming Skull, I start highlighting the Stalker's bones. This time I'm trying to be more precise on the sharpest features, so it makes a really nice blending with the Morghast bone. On its back, I am trying to leave those spines a bit more darker. I am putting more highlight on the faces and also base paint their teeth. It is really time-consuming method, but in the end it will be worth it. With White Scar, I'm finishing the bones and giving extra fine highlight, mainly on the faces, where the cheek bone is, and also the forehead, and base paint also the eyes. I am giving a wash of Waywatcher Green glaze onto the eye sockets. Now that the bone is finished, I'm moving on to the clothes and start base painting them with Incubi Darkness. Trying to be extra careful where the bone starts to meet. If I'm making any mistakes, I'm just going back with Morghast bone and just correct all the mistakes. I also base paint the blades and daggers, but we'll come back to it later. I am giving a Nuln wash onto the clothes. Making sure to cover the whole area. And again, as these washes likes to gather in some areas, it is best to even out with the brush. Now that the Nuln wash is dry, I'm using Kabalite green and start dry brushing all the cloth areas. It's kind of, I'm just repeating the bone section, but with a different color, obviously. I'm trying to make sure that with this dry brushing get some of the highlighted waves of the cloths. And once that is also done, I'm just start layering all the sharpest features with the same color. With Fenrisian grey, I highlight all the holes and the edges on the clothes. And with that, the clothes are finished. I use Incubi Darkness as a base coat and start painting the falchions. With the Necron compound, it's a dry paint, I do a heavy dry brush on the blades. I decided to give Incubi Darkness base to the blades so that with the spirit blades it can blend together nicely. So it gets a little bit of greenish color onto the blade. I am now using Nuln oil wash. I am focusing mainly on the cheek of the blades, leaving the bevel as it is. With Stormhost Silver, I am giving a light dry brushing on the edges of the blades. Now I'm using Balthazar Gold. This time I'm watering it down quite heavily, so like a 4:1 part ratio. 1 part paint and 4 part water. And I'm just giving it onto the recesses of the runes. And with that, the falchions are complete. I use Mechanicus Standard Grey on the bone armors and the handles of the blades and the swords, and also on the toenails of the stalkers, being very careful where the bone areas are already painted. I am giving a wash of Agrax Earthshade onto the Mechanicus Standard Grey painted areas. Now that the wash is dry, I am using Dawnstone and start layering the armors and the handles. With Ulthuan Grey, I give a fine highlight onto these areas. And with that, the bone armor is finished. I am using Kantor blue as a base onto the armor plates. Here, as you can see, I also glued the shoulder pads onto the miniature, and also base paint those pads as well. I'm using Nuln oil wash and just wash all the armor plates. Now that the wash is dry, I'm using a 2-to-1 mix ratio of Kantor blue and Russ gray. I heavily water it down. It's called water blending effect, and start making the highlights on all these shoulder and armor plates. Main focus where are the nails of the armor plates. At first it's really bright on these miniatures, but once it dries it fades down a bit, so it's best to give like multiple layers of this. And if it goes over, it's just use Kantor blue and go back with the mistakes. Now I'm using the same colors with a 1-to-1 mix and repeat the same technique. As you can see, I'm using my thumb to remove all the extra paint on the brush because it's quite diluted, and I want to have a nice sharp line on the already painted areas. I'm giving a final same water blending effect way, rust grey. And with Baharoth blue, I give a fine highlight on the armor plates. With Nuln oil, I go back again, and then this time just on the recesses of the armor plates, so to have a bit more depth into the joints, and also the nails of the armor. I also wash those. And with Stormhost Silver, I base paint all the nails. Now I'm using Balthazar Gold on the emblems on their chest and also on the shoulder pads, the Soulstone gem holders. I wash all the gold details with Agrax Earthshade. And with Sycorax Bronze, I highlight all the gold details. And with that, the armor plates are finished. With Khorne Red, I base paint all the sword and dagger handles. I wash them down with Nuln oil, shade, Once the Nuln oil wash is dry, I'm layering it with Wazdakka Red. And finishing it with a highlight of Gorthor brown. I base painted the Soulstone gems with Abaddon Black, and then I just start layering with a tiny amount of Mechanicus Standard Grey. With Administratum Grey, I highlight mainly the center part. And I'm using art coat and paint all the Soulstone gems to have a nice shiny effect on them. So with the cloths I painted with Incubi Darkness the spirit blades, and now I'm using Nuln oil wash and just wash all the blades. I'm using Kabalite green after the wash is dried, and start painting and layering also the end towards the handle. I'm trying to make it more brighter, and also on the edges of the blade. I am using a 1-to-1 mix of Deepkin Flesh and Kabalite Green. With this I'm trying to focus on the teeth of the spirit blades. Also I'm using it a little bit of wet blending so that it blends nicely with the Kabalite Green, and also on the edges of the blades. And with Deepkin Flesh, I highlight all the sharpest features of the blades. And with this, the spirit blades are now finished, and there is just one more thing left to do. I'm using Moot green for it and start giving a layer just under the eye sockets to get a nice glowing effect on the eyes. And with that, the miniatures are complete. Thank you for your support to this channel. I hope you like this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really helps a lot. Cheers.